Hi everybody, welcome back to the Energy Stoners Cafe and Talk with TQ. As always, I like to present to you the most interesting people I can find on the planet. Well, today I have someone I'm very fond of. He's done a lot for a lot of people. He's a wellness, I'd say advocate, that's my term, and his name is David Wilder. He's a yoga instructor, but he also teaches fitness in general, and he agreed to come on the show and share his experience with us. So David, thanks for coming to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Tony.
The pleasure is all of mine. So anyway, it took us a while to get to this point. And the reason I decided to interview you is because I've experienced your very mindful and caring instruction. So tell me, and which our audience will hear as well, how you got into, I'm going to talk yoga first. How did you get into yoga?
I was first introduced to yoga. My mom brought me to a class. I was about 10 years old. It was the strangest and most awkward event. And I was giggling. And when the class did Om, I thought it was so funny and awkward. And I giggled for most of the class.
Why did you giggle about Om? And tell the audience about Om, because not everybody who listens is into yoga.
Well, they Om to bring the community together. We use the Om to relax, to get into the moment, to listen to the vibration and start to take this inward journey of exploration, discovery.
An inward journey in which we use our bodies for this. Now, David, you get us in some positions, and it's always something that we can handle. You get us into these great positions, and somehow there's a healing effect that happens. For some of us, it's something that happens after. For some of us, it's something that happens during the whole process. So were you taught this, how to do this instruction?
Had quite a few different systems that I've studied. There's the Iyengar system, which I started with, and that was the first class that I was in at 10 years old. And then I moved on to different styles like Ashtanga, power yoga, and then Anusara yoga. Through the years, I put them all together with my life experience and what works best for me. I started to practice with friends, and it was suggested by a lot of them that I start teaching. And that's what I did. I started to teach, and then I became certified and insured, and it's been 30 years.
Wow, that's a very long time. You teach various populations. I know you teach a senior population. You also teach people that are dealing with autism population. You teach children. And I know that the class I take, after you leave that class, you're rushing off to another class. Before you start, you're rushing in from a class. And so how many sessions do you do on an average day?
6 to 8 classes a day.
Wow.
Tomorrow will be my day off. I'll do about 4 classes.
On your day off?
My day
4
off.
classes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Saturdays and Sundays I'll do two classes.
So you teach every day?
It's what I like to do.
Yeah, yeah. You know that saying, what is that saying? Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life?
And that's it. So it's not really work. Work is getting to and from the sessions.
So in the class that I take, you have various personalities, but somehow you have like a natural way of making everything cohesive. I'm wondering, did you go to school to teach yoga? I went to school to teach. Did you go to school to teach?
Well, we learn so much in our education. Mm-hmm. But the real practice is the work. So that it's like on the job training. That's where we make it happen.
And it's perpetual for you, it sounds like.
Something I'd like to just continue to do forever.
Yeah, yeah, I know that
The rest of my life.
the class I'm in, the people in the class, we just adore you. You know, we're really very happy when you come. We're very happy during the class, and then when you leave, we're like, you know, we're kind of like, we want you to come back. No, it's something that you wish you could do. Me, at least, I wish I could do it all the time. You know, if that was a possibility.
Yeah.
Tell me about the children you teach. You don't have to tell me every detail, but tell me how you got into the multiple populations. That's impressive.
I built a reputation for being able to work with most anybody. And there's a lot of referral. So one of the boarding schools that I work for is a boarding school for children who are dealing with autism. And their instructor that they had was not available anymore. So they called me in, and I did an audition, and
Audition.
it worked. I was someone that the children were able to kind of relate to. The students were able to relate to me. I did the poses with them. I inspired them to do the poses, and we made it fun. That's what we get when I show up. We make it fun and effective. As you see when we start class here,
Yeah.
like everybody get on your feet.
Yeah,
It's time.
yes, to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a party. It's like a party. And we have a very nice group, and you make us, you connect us to each other, which I find interesting. I kind of feel that, you know, even though when I came to the class, I didn't know anyone in the class, but you were kind of like the glue that put everything together.
I remember when we met.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We all have a unique collection of gifts that we bring with us wherever we are, and we're blessed to be able to share them. I help to pull that together from each and every one of the people in the classes. We're all integral components to what's happening.
Yeah, you do a little bit of reading from philosophers to us, or things that you found that are somewhat inspiring. You know, they tweak your brain a little, they tweak your spirit a little bit. And so you go a little bit further than just teaching poses. You put some beautiful ideas out there for us to ponder. How did you get into that part of it? That's what makes you so unique.
How did I get into that? It was just like I jumped into the river, and there were different things in the river, obstacles and opportunities. And as I'm flowing down the river, I'll either choose to swim around the obstacle or hang out on it.
I like the hang out on it part.
So how does that relate to our class? Like you said, we have a lot of different personalities.
Yes.
And you'll see sometimes somebody just needs a break, they don't want to do it. The rest of the class that will move a little bit will be inspiring to the person who may just be watching for the moment. And then you'll see they'll join in.
Yes.
Like sometimes someone doesn't want to do a handstand.
Who would that be?
And then other people do,
Yeah.
try to do it, or down dog with a leg up the wall, and then someone will try to do it, and then we often look at that and say, well, I think I can do that, and sometimes we'll have the courage to give it a try.
Yeah.
So I hope to inspire you to develop courage.
What are some of the obstacles that you find, more common obstacles that you find that people have that cause a resistance to actually engaging in this wonderful practice?
Well, what I hear most is, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible and I'm not strong enough. Well, yoga is not about being strong or flexible. It's one of the benefits of practicing yoga is that you become strong and flexible. So if you see a class where people are experienced at yoga, you see people who are flexible and strong, but that's because they practice.
Right. Yeah.
If we are tight, it's easier to reach to our boundaries.
If we are tight, what do
So
you
like
mean?
if we're not flexible, it's easier to reach to the boundary.
Oh, okay.
If we're not strong, we can find that fatigue quicker. So we don't have to work as long to get to those boundaries. When we become familiar with our boundaries, we're able to work on them, we gain confidence, and then we're able to practice more and eventually go beyond the boundaries and set new boundaries.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful result of the practice. Getting people started is probably the most difficult part. As we talk about in our yoga classes, is transitions are some of the toughest things we do in life. It's the transitions. It's where we feel a loss of stability when we're making a transition. The yoga practice helps us to realize that. Whether it's a physical transition on the mat or sending your child off to college, there's a lot of fear, unfamiliarity. The yoga helps us become familiar with those obstacles and boundaries.
So the yoga is almost like a metaphor for life. So as we go through these physical, challenges, we take on these physical challenges. It's somewhat metaphoric for the challenges we take on in life. That's what I'm hearing from you now. Am I right?
Well,
I don't have to be
there are
though.
many thresholds for us to go through in life.
Okay.
And the more we approach the thresholds, the more we become familiar with the thresholds. And the more that we practice going through thresholds, the more familiar we are with going through the thresholds. And often we'll find that on the other side of those thresholds is more efficiency.
Oh, okay.
But it takes a lot of effort to get there.
Yeah, yeah.
In the process, we're building or developing courage.
It's the second time you've said courage. I never really thought about it that way until you said it here.
Enthusiasm, confidence.
The balancing is something that people are challenged with. I've noticed, I know for me personally, it's not about me, but many of the people in our class that I take, they have issues with balance. So if you can just master, maybe the goal for an individual might be to master the tree pose. Not so simple all the time.
It's not simple as we get older because we have memory. And the memory of falling, and everyone falls, is something that it stays there. We don't want to fall. So very often the first thought is, I don't want to do that because I might fall. And as we're practicing doing something like a balancing practice or balancing pose, there's the thought that I'm not staying up, I'm going down. And that's distracting. So in yoga, we recognize when that obstacle comes up, the thought obstacle. And if we can, we practice on lifting instead of focusing on the I'm not doing it. We focus on I am doing it. I can do it. I will do it. I must do it.
I want to do it.
I want to do it.
It's changing the language in your head, I suppose. Is that what you mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah, change the language in your head about it. Some of the things are somewhat scary. I know there are a few people in our class that I'm in. They're very, very good at doing like a shoulder stand. They don't have a problem just going and getting upside down. you know, and to a lot of us, that is a scary thing, being upside down, for whatever reason it is. But somehow you've been able to sort of break through a little bit or a lot of that fear to get certain people to actually do that shoulder stand.
Well, there are different reasons people have for not inverting. It could be a physical issue with someone may have glaucoma. They can't put extra pressure
Right.
on their eyes. There could be a blood pressure issue. And that's another reason why people might want to practice getting their head below the heart, but it could be dangerous. So we want to avoid further injury, but still be in the process of being able to move without irritation or injury.
Okay, what are the benefits of
So
going upside down?
for
Just,
people who are healthy, it's good to condition your blood vessels in your head to be able to handle a little extra pressure. Iyengar used to say to soak the brain in blood inhibits plaque formation on the brain. So plaque formation on the brain can lead to dementia. So it's a good idea to keep the blood flowing. However, he would say great yogis or yogis don't get dementia. And he said inversions are one of the reasons. And I never heard from him what other reasons there were, but I realized that yogis have a different kind of eating. They eat differently. Our bodies become what we take in and don't process. So it's the accumulation of the information that comes in both diet of food and diet of information that comes in. So all information mentally that comes in needs to be processed. Same thing with what we eat. It all needs to be processed. So any food that comes in should be usable to start with, right? And we all go for the sugar and sometimes the junk. But if we could be a little more strict with our diets, it'll be easier to process what comes in. However, everything that comes in needs to be processed, because if it just accumulates, it's going to be trouble. Right? So the insults and injuries, both mentally and physically, can accumulate. We need to heal, process, eliminate the toxins.
do you ever work with people, so I know the answer to this, but do you ever work with people that have had injuries and then they come to yoga class and they're somewhat impaired? You know, I'm thinking about people I know that have broken a bone or, you know, for whatever reason, hurt their back. I know a lot of people come to do yoga because they find relief in that physical pain.
Of course. I was one of them.
So
Right?
tell us about
So
that.
I've always been an athlete and have, through the years, been injured at different times. The yoga is not about pushing ourselves to irritate what's already been injured. It's more about visiting, again, the resistance, becoming aware of where the resistance is, allowing for the body to respond to where you're feeling this sensation without further irritation. So let's say I have a knee injury and it will only bend so much. I would only want to bring my knee to that point of where it's just visiting the boundary, not going beyond the boundary where it's causing more irritation. I want to squeeze out any congestion and allow for the healing enzymes to get in there.
Yeah. You know a lot about the physiology of all this, and it seems like you know a lot about the chemistry of how the body works and responds to different things.
Well, we tried to physically, again, squeeze out the congestion so that we can easily move into the spaces. And we also want to be able to give our spiritual component the space to work, because we have a tendency to block that, the spiritual component of our being. We can put ourselves in the alignment to heal, and then the spirit heals us.
Yeah, the
Spirit
spirit.
moves the molecules.
Oh, I never heard that. I like that. The spirit moves the molecules. Interesting. I've never heard that expression.
Right? So like when we cut ourselves and put a Band-Aid on it, we don't think ourselves into the healing. We let the body and the brain communicate, bring the healing enzymes.
Kind of knows what to do.
When we're children, we start off with smiles and happiness and adventurous attitudes. We can do anything. And then some information comes up where we're either told to stop doing that, or we fall, and then it changes our attitude.
Yeah.
But we can become aware of that. And the yoga practice where we're having fun gives us a chance to challenge ourselves, especially with balance.
Yeah. Yeah, balance is key to for a lot of people, because I know I tell the audience I decided to take your yoga class, even though I've taken other yoga classes, but I've decided to take your yoga class for a couple of reasons. But the main reason is because I knew that I needed to achieve better balance.
Better balance,
Yeah.
more of the muscular strength to hold yourself in optimal alignment so
Right.
that you can find the stability.
The stability, the stability, the stability.
And align over the stable foundation and develop the leverage so that you can levitate.
I got the courage to do a shoulder stand, even though I was feeling a little uncomfortable about being upside down. And as you might remember, because I know you have a lot of students, I came into class and you said something about the shoulder stand, and I had made up my mind when I was walking here, I'm going to do it today, I'm going to do it. So when I sat down and you mentioned, I said, I want to go first. And that was really because I wanted to get it out of the way. Get it out of the way, just do it. And I did it, you know, and it was good. And now I realize what I had done for myself. But you put us in poses that aren't as extreme as that. We're always kind of upside down in that class in one way or another.
We start with a forward bend.
Yeah, the forward bend, the down dog, you know, which I actually do at home on my own. I've been doing that for a while because I felt that that was a sort of like a fundamental move, you know, and you somehow get the stretching in. Stretching. Yeah.
Well, the stretching helps us to be able to move into space, into the space where we can find the leverage.
Yeah.
So if we can get the right position in the joints, we can find the stability and lift and rise.
And rise. Yes.
So we were working on something today, the Warrior 3
That's
and
a tough.
tree pose.
That's a tough one. The transition is tough. Challenging, I'll say.
Right. We were also working the breathing. So again, with the yoga, we're looking to find the spaces that we can move into and then practice moving into them, physically and mentally. So when we were working the breathing, if we take our inhalation to the boundary of the lung capacity, the brain recognizes that boundary. It helps you to get there with less effort, like any training. Mm-hmm. So if you're weightlifting, your body gets used to lifting that weight. You're going to a boundary of being able to lift like 10 pounds. And then you're conditioned to lift the 10 pounds and go a little bit beyond the 10 pounds, and you go up to the next level, 12 pounds. and then slowly you graduate to the next level. With the yoga, we want to make space like for the breathing. So we worked on that today, right? We took our big, deep inhale and we felt the boundary of the lung capacity. And the more we breathe like that, the easier it is to breathe.
And it feels so good. It does feel good. You know, I have to say that I was so glad that I found your class, you know, and you have a reputation around the region pretty much. Some people call you Yoga Dave. I can't bring myself to call you Yoga Dave, you know?
You don't have to.
I call you David the Great, King David.
Works.
I'd rather go there. But whatever. It's all the same thing. But I have to end this first discussion with you, and I really invite you to come back and talk more about this because it's important. You know, it's very important, especially in our society now. And I think that, in my opinion, yoga promotes peace within, and we all need a little more of that. And I just say to myself, sign me up for some more of this, you know? So David, thank you so much. Thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it. You know I adore you.
It's my pleasure too.
Yes, and we all talk about how we love David.
I can say one more thing about making the space. When we do our meditation at the end, the Shavasana, we want to stop the movements of the mind to make space.
Yeah.
And be able to come back to the worldly attachment when we're done meditating with a clean space to move in.
Yeah, clean space to move in. And I'm starting to feel that all this stuff is like a metaphor for what goes on in our lives and what we need to perhaps treat, heal, remedy, you know? It's all of that. But this is a big discussion. We really should have another talk. How can someone get in touch with you if they want to engage in yoga with you, David Wilder?
Well, my Facebook page is Wilder Yoga and Fitness. My email address is wilderfitness@gmail.com.
There you go. There you have it. Okay, thank you, David. You're the best.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate you coming in and talking to me more about this. I feel privileged. I do.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, David Wilder, and thank you, audience, for coming to another episode of the Energy Stoners Cafe and Talk with TQ. I'll see you next time, and I promise once again, I'll bring to you the most interesting people I can find on the planet. So be nice, be good, be happy. Bye-bye.